Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Insight on Business. My name is Michael Libby, and this is all brought to you by FWRSA. FWRSA Tax, working hard for you until the cows come home. April 15th, kids. Oh, by the way, FWRSA is open late on Tuesday nights. So if you are a business person or if you're crammed for time, they'll take walk-in traffic. You don't have to have an appointment. Walk-in traffic at their site. And by the way, you can check out FWRSA on your cell phone because they are mobile, so that means that you can contact them. You can go, okay, FWRSA, by the way, F-U-R-I-S-A, and you can contact them on your cell phone with a one-touch button. Go mobile or go home. All right, we're talking about the world of radio broadcasting, radio advertising, and business. Our guest today is Jeff Delvaux. He is the general manager for the Saga Communications group of stations in Des Moines, Iowa, called the Des Moines Radio Group. Jeff, great to have you here. You know, we could probably go on for hours about this whole broadcasting world.
Yes, we could. There has just been so much.
Did you spend any time in TV?
I did not.
Okay.
I'm actually an old newspaper guy.
Really? Saw the light and you said,
I was back in the days of, to tell you how old I am, Woodward and Bernstein, where everybody wanted to write the front page article, and I realized that writers don't make a lot of money. You got to make it in advertising. That was actually an uncle of mine said, "You're in sales, stay in sales. That's where the highest paid people are." But then I got into management. That was the crazy part.
You know, I have to agree with you. I took 10 years of my life out to get into long-term health care.
Oh, wow.
Boom. And it was, let me tell you, kids, you haven't seen anything until you're dealing with 600 people who live in a vertically integrated healthcare delivery system and 400 employees. And you're in the state of Iowa where the Medicaid reimbursement rate is zip. And you're trying to juggle all those things. But that's...
Well, you don't get it political, but I'll tell you what, that's going to be a political hot button for years to come, because you and I are heading into that. I just had a birthday. I'm no longer in the key 25-54 demographic, but I'm still in the 35-64 demographic. So the great thing about radio is you never get older.
You never get out of the demographic.
You never get out of the demographic.
So. Let's talk a little bit about radio advertising and business.
Let me, if you don't mind, let me just talk about all advertising, because when I go in and talk to an advertiser, I don't zero in on radio, because I don't think that's what it's all about. And I know you're in an advertising agency, and you have to look at all aspects of advertising. The first thing I tell somebody is know your budget, know your demographic, know who your customer is, and then let's talk about what we can and can't do. And I really tell somebody right from the get-go, do everything if you can. But the reality is, most of us, I heard you say it earlier, we're not these big conglomerates. We can't, a lot of these businesses can't do that. So then we start to narrow it down. And of course, for years and years and years, I usually narrowed it down to newspaper and radio, because I love what radio can do in the quick elements, and then you could get more detail in the newspaper. But let's face it, if you're under the age of 40, it's not happening anymore.
No, it's not.
And it's funny you were bringing up banner ads, because I was thinking newspapers really placed a lot of their future fortunes on digital and banner ads, and it's a tough go. It's a tough go.
And I think here's another interesting thing. As long as we're talking about advertising in general, is one of the trends that we've seen for the past 2 or 3 years is the wake-up call that print has seen. And they're saying, oh, wait a minute now. But it goes beyond. I think it goes beyond going, where in the hell did our subscribers go? Where's our revenue base? And they're starting to get it when it comes to multimedia presentations on the net. Yes. And so they're incorporating more video, and they're incorporating more on-the-spot deals, or more live broadcasts, more things. So, which means that broadcast facilities, television and radio, which I believe radio has a head up on that, because you can break programming at any time for just about any reason, and cover whatever is going on live, and you can still, by the way, pick it up in your car, although that's changing too, as the new technology makes it available for vehicles to pick up broadcasts like this. I
just saw an ad last night for Honda, and 2 young ladies, and it's Pandora ready, but I got to tell you, there just came out, both GM and Ford said AM/FM radio is not leaving the dashboard.
Sure.
And here's what I love about radio. still 93% of all people listen to radio every week. And most people use about 2.5 radio stations in a given week. So that's another thing I try to teach my salespeople, and we teach in general to businesses. One radio station, I mean, one of our best radio stations has been for years is KIOA. Mm-hmm. It gets results. But we know that KIOA isn't the only station some of those people listen to. They're going to, again, on average, 2.5 radio stations that they're going to listen to. So how do you zero in? What do you do? Well, it really comes down to reach and frequency. And I don't care what medium you're in.
Exactly.
Reach and frequency. Just read a new book on branding, the brand game it's called. Ironically, I don't think the guy really talked as much about branding as he did about reach and frequency, which I was okay with, because if I could get one thing across to any business person is what you say times how many times you say it is what works in advertising. And you might recognize that from old Dave Gifford. That hasn't changed since 1987. What you say times how many times you say it is what works in advertising today. Yep. And so it's the message, and so many people don't understand. And this is one of the things I have a problem with the live and local versus the long the long-armed radio stations. We have a production staff. We have a lot of on-air local people. We have a copywriter. We have people that are doing that work in-house, and it's very expensive. And of course, what these some of these companies are doing are trying to make a radio a commodity. And so your advertising community is saying, wait a minute, why am I not being able to pay this? I'm saying, well, you can't have it both ways. If you want live and local and good quality advertising, and that's what's going to break through, then we got to do it this way. And there's a cost to that. I can't have live and local salespeople, right. I mean, on-air people, production people. But we put out a good product, but we work really hard at the message.
You said something so important just a little bit ago. The 3 things that any advertiser, any business needs to know. They need to know what their budget is. They need to know who their consumer is, and they need to know where that demographic lies.
How do they do that?
Well, here's even more scathing thought on my part. I would suspect, I would offer to you, most businesses don't have a clue about anything other than their budget. They know their budget, but they don't know necessarily the intricacies of their consumer. They don't know where they hang out unless they ask, and most individuals are busy selling product and services, and they don't take the time to sit back, go into a room, and think about where their consumer is, what the consumer demographic is. They get a snapshot, but they don't have any real data. Is that something you try to take to advertisers?
Yes, we didn't even set that up. Thank you. It's really what I pride myself on. What my sales manager and I, we believe in building broadcasters. And so what we teach our people is to ask great questions. And I think I told you I was a journalist at one time, and so it came naturally to me because I had to learn how to. I was there to get their story, so I had to learn how to ask questions. The number one thing our salespeople are taught is ask great questions. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just had a new rep who's been with me less than 6 months. Walked into an advertiser, and he brought out a whole stack of proposals. And he said, "You're the first person to ask me a question about my business. All these other people brought me a proposal." Well, again, you being in the advertising business, you know how. I mean, if you didn't, as an ad agency, didn't ask questions about your customer, what would you know, or how could you put something together for them? Yeah. So we work really hard at trying to find either the opportunity or the pain. We talk about it, and we all have it. I mean, I have it in my business, you have it in your business. All these customers have it. So what we try to do is we have a set number of questions, but the bigger thing is, just like in an interview for a newspaper
Absolutely.
article, you got to be able to take an area and go with that area and learn how to extrapolate that and get the customer thinking about their business. I use a thing called the force field analysis, which basically says, how did you get started? Where are you today? How do you want to get there in 5 years? And what have been the strengths and weaknesses to get you there and back? And from that force field analysis, people can really get them really thinking about their business. So that's one of the things, one of the techniques we use. But the key is can we get that person to sit down
That's
long
the key.
enough?
Yeah.
Because they're busy.
Busy, I know.
They're busy, and of course, then they're getting. I mean, the reason advertising agencies exist is there's so many salespeople out there today that they want to funnel those salespeople to you, so you can help them, so they can do what their job is.
Well, and there's another aspect to that, and you hit it right on the head. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have a business, you know this is true. You don't spend the time to take a look at things.
You don't.
Outside of the box of what you've been doing. And I remember when I was selling advertising back when Ed Fritz, now there's a name.
Boy,
There's a
I
name that
guess.
goes back. Yeah, Ed Fritz owned this station in Paducah, Kentucky. And I walked in as a fresh sales guy. I wanted to be on the air, but I had to work my bones to get there.
Sure.
And anyway, I said, "Do you have an account list?" And he threw me the Yellow Pages.
The Yellow
And he said,
Pages, of course.
Go sell some damn ads, kid.
Yeah.
And that's in reality, people don't have time to sit down and strategically plan what it is they do, and that's why lots of times advertising agencies do exist. The other thing I think is that if you're a business and your service, and listen to what I tell you, kids, if you're not listening to every pitch, you're doing something wrong. I know you don't think you have time to do that, but somebody might just have the magic bullet. And if you're saying, "Okay, Susie, your front desk manager, I will talk to this person, this person, this person, but if anybody else comes in here, I don't want to talk to them about advertising," you're doing your business a disservice. Especially if you're in the sales and marketing side of that thing and you're not listening to every pitch, that is your damn job. Listen to those pitches, and if you don't have the time, call us. We got plenty of time to do that.
We got plenty of time to do
We
that.
can do that for you. When it comes to radio advertising, Jeff Delvaux is our guest, ladies and gentlemen. He's the general manager of the Des Moines Radio Group. When it comes to radio advertising, what works and what doesn't?
Well, and I touched on it a little while ago. The hardest thing we have is that we work with people is on reach and frequency. How many commercials on a given station, and we know the ratio of how many ads work, and I can tell you about 25 ads a week is what we really push people towards. The problem becomes, are they willing to invest 25, the amount of dollars necessary to get at least 25 to 30 commercials on the air? They look at it as, oh, that salesperson's trying to sell me something, and I'm saying, no, if I can't get you a 3 to 5 frequency, which is what we shoot for, which means you're reaching at least 3 to 5 people 50% of the time, I know it's not going to work.
Right.
And then I'm going to really work hard on helping you, or my staff's going to help you work really hard on trying to get the right message. And if we can get the right message with the right amount of people, we're going to break through. We heard of somebody the other day that was running 4 ads a week on a station, and absolutely broke my heart.
Yeah.
If that's happening out there, if somebody's selling you 4 ads a week, please challenge them on it, because that is not going to work for you. Even over the course of a year, 4 ads a week is not going to break through. We're in a very high. You just showed 1,707 banner ads. I believe was the number. And then the old Troughton Reese's Positioning of the Mind, even back when that was written 20 years ago, it said we were getting 2,500 impressions per day. Imagine what it is today. So, Mr. Advertiser, you want to break through. And one of the best things I've ever seen, watched, read, and I do a lot of that because, my salespeople don't necessarily, which is okay. That's what I'm here for. Is Roy Williams talks about Broca.
Oh boy!
And breaking through.
Roy Williams, there's a name from the past.
I love Roy Williams. I was doing Roy Williams before Roy Williams.
Yeah.
I wish I would have taken what he's done, but he's still out there and he's very strong and he's very heavy. But Broca, which is that little filter that we all have in our brain, if it's not relevant, Broca will ignore it. If you break through with something, then you're going to get through to the advertiser.
Which brings up a follow-up question to that.
Okay.
Copywriting.
Oh boy.
When we do copywriting for our clients, we like simple. Simple and factual. What are the most common mistakes that you see in the world of advertising in general when it comes to copywriting?
Well, the first thing is I go with you on the simplistic. I still write quite a few ads, especially for like nonprofits and whatnot. And you know what I still use more than anything else? Who, what, when, where, why.
Yeah.
If I can get those 5 things out there, that's what people really need to hear. They need to know the who, what, when, where, why. Unfortunately, too many people are trying to win awards and not necessarily get results. I happen to have a very good copywriter, and she's fanatical about results. She worked for Marketing Architects out of Minneapolis, which is a kind of a direct mail type of advertising. So they're very good at getting results. They have to be. So it's really about it's a message. Humor works, and all these things work. But once you've heard a funny ad or you've seen a funny ad on the air, come on. So what I tell people is, if you're going to do a funny ad, if you're going to do an ad that's kind of offbeat, run still an opposite ad of who, what, when, where, why, because that's what people need to know. Yes, the humor sticks, but sometimes people don't know they remember the punchline, they don't remember the advertiser.
Exactly correct. It's that punchline, and proof of that is, ladies and gentlemen, I know there are millions of you that watched the Super Bowl. How many of you can tell me what the top 4 ads were? Unless you're in the business.
I don't know how much time we have, but if there's 2 things I could, here's 2 things that the advertising community can use today. And I just went to, you just had a seminar recently, was, the things that people could use in the next 24 hours, which really caught my eye. You need a USP, UPS, or how you want to, unique proposition statement, unique statement of proposition, whichever way you want to put it, which is, that's what people remember. They're going to remember your name of your business, and they're going to remember that USP. Best one I ever came up with many, many years ago was TJ's Archery. When you set your sights on the great outdoors. That just, and we had a little sound effect in there, and the guy, it just doubled his business, because everybody who was an archer, they knew about TJ's Archery, but all of a sudden setting your sights on the great outdoors, it just brought home. So if you don't have a USP, start working with your advertising rep on finding that, because that will stick with the consumer more than just about anything else.
Taglines are so important.
Taglines. They're going to remember your name, your tagline, and then the location or website. By the way, websites in every ad. The whole phone thing. Yeah. We don't want people grabbing their phones in the car.
Well, not only that, you can't remember it.
You can't remember it.
515-331-3207. And when you put too much wording in the copy, it just
lost it.
You're out of touch.
Yeah. The other thing, are we running out of time? The other thing is, and it's just a real quick one, but I mean, I could actually give you a whole 30 minutes on it.
I'm sure.
It's budget analysis. Take 50% of your budget and divide it over 12 months. Take 25% of your budget and put it into your special events. Whether you have 4 special events, 6 special events, divide that up. Take 15% and keep it as a slush fund. This is the number one thing I tell people all the time. Keep 15%, divide it out by 12 months, and every month carry it over until you find somebody walks into you and has this great idea, and you go to your client.
Sorry,
we've already spent our budget. And the last 10%, put into the fourth quarter, because that's when we all make our jing. And if you're ahead of the year, pocket the 10%. That's bottom line cash flow. If not, use that 10% to have a great year.
Absolutely. Jeff Delvaux, ladies and gentlemen, has been our guest. While you're here, we do each Monday the worst ad of the week.
Oh boy!
And because you're in radio, we scoured
the radio airwaves.
We scoured the radio airwaves to find what we thought were 2 of the worst ads, not only of the week but ever. And I want to get your take on this, Ryan. If we've got those queued up, let's go ahead and hit one. Now, the worst ad of the week, ladies and gentlemen, you too can be honored by having the worst ad of the week if you just keep doing something that's silly, all right? And we didn't pick on this market.
Okay,
you're breathing easier now.
I'm sitting here going, which station was it?
This is, go ahead and run it, Ryan, please.
Since 1952, hundreds of families have trusted their insurance need to the caring professionals at Parkins & Maddock, because competitive pricing is a Parkins & Maddock specialty, and they're known for their fast, fair, and friendly service. So when you need auto, home, health, life, or any other type of insurance, find out how much Parkins & Maddock can save you by calling them at 862-3791. That number again is 862-3791. Parkins and Maddock is open weekdays till 7 for your convenience, and until 4 on Saturdays, but closed on Sundays. Find out for yourself why hundreds of families trust Parkins and Maddock year after year. Call Parkins and Maddock today at 862-3791. You'll be glad you did.
Cliches in the copy.
That was god awful.
That was god awful, wasn't it? And you notice what we did with that is that the mind started to wander about
Absolutely. I
10
couldn't-
seconds into the ad.
Yeah.
You know, what the hell are you talking about?
I love what he was doing. I love what they were doing with the print on the thing. But that's where my mind went. I was thinking about my son. My son's a soccer coach. I started thinking about soccer, and
Yeah, so
I'm a little hungry right now. I could use a banana. McDonald's doesn't sound too bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. If you lose the intent right out of the gun, you only have seconds to be able to grab somebody's attention. Don't be silly, okay? Here's another one. I think you'll like this one.
Who? I can't even tell you who the name of the
I don't either.
the
Some
business
insurance
was.
company.
Some insurance company.
Ryan, go ahead.
It's not about anything else.
Go to your room and lock the door, cause when you try it once, you want to try it some more. Size doesn't matter, and that's a fact. It might be small, but it's a big impact. Bust a nut, bust a nut. Grab a bag of corn nuts and bust a nut. They're lightly toasted and hard as well. Enjoy yourself, we won't tell. Everybody does it, they like it a lot. You can do it at school, just don't get caught. It takes a few minutes if you don't delay. Take your time, make it last all day. Bust a nut, bust a nut. Grab a bag of corn nuts and bust a nut. They're lightly toasted and hard as well. Enjoy yourself.
Well.
I've already clicked on 5 other TV stations, and oh my gosh! I mean, you know what? And the sad part is, jingles are very strong still.
Jingles are strong.
But wow,
Bust your nuts?
Bust your. Yeah, I'm not there.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, you gotta love it, don't you? The worst ads of the week, courtesy of the world of radio, and we didn't. We at least spared Des Moines.
You certainly did, and I have to say I appreciate that.
Jeff Delvaux has been our guest, talking about the power of advertising, the power of broadcasting, the power specifically of radio. Jeff, thank you for coming by and doing this.
Yeah, and if your advertising reps are not working as hard for you as they are for themselves, fire them.
Fire them. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
There you go. Thanks so very much for joining us. This has been a hoot, kids. We've talked about QR codes. We talked about banner ads. We talked about the worst ad of the week. We talked about the radio business, about being live, about being local. And we talked about, interestingly enough, not from a political context, but marriage equality in business. Where are you guys set up with regard to that? Not that you should make a statement, but that you should be aware that that's a very real business issue. Thanks so very much for joining us. We're back each and every Monday live at 8:45 with Insight on Business, all brought to us by our friends at FWRSA. FWRSA Tax, working hard for you until the cows come home. Thanks so very much. Be safe, be well, be careful. Most of all, be good to your fellow man. Bye-bye.